to do a serious one.
Yeah.
So joining you live from the World Championship 2023 in Barcelona, the Living Legend podcast.
These ones are Young Kasai. So these are the tokens going out to patrons, so they can use these for Heavy Hitters Limited if they would like.
That's nice.
And it's art, obviously, by... this is the concept art for Veya, done by Crobius, so yeah. Really cool. And with that, I guess maybe we can just jump into the podcast if you guys want to.
Yeah, why not?
If you're all ready.
Might as well.
How's it going, everyone? And welcome to another episode of the Living Legends podcast. For the audio-only people, I'm showing off this cool Veya promo that I give to my... this month goes to my patrons. I give a different Red Zone Rogue token every single month. It alternates. Sometimes it's... Well, most is Flesh and Blood, but I'm dipping into other stuff. Anyway, not to tangent immediately. Welcome. We're here to talk about Flesh and Blood. I'm going to introduce my two co-hosts here. Let's start with Bill this time. How's it going, Bill? How are you doing today?
I am doing pretty well. It's going to be a pretty busy weekend, unfortunately not for Flesh and Blood purposes, but I know there's a lot of people going to pre-releases because, this is the weekend to do that. So for those of you who did, because at this point you will have already gone, I hope they went well for you. And for engagement bait down in the comments, who did you play? And how did you do? We're interested to hear how, also just how you're enjoying the set in general, because that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today as well.
Yeah.
But
we're gonna be giving our first impressions of the set, talking about the set in the grand scheme of Grand Archive. Oh my god, that tells you where my brain tells you where my brain is right now.
It's on the brain.
Tell you where the grand scheme of where Heavy Hitters lies in the Flesh and Blood ecosystem and all that kind of good stuff. And speaking of the Flesh and Blood ecosystem, hey Az, how are you doing?
An absolute constant of the Flesh and Blood ecosystem. When getting pissed and having fun is concerned. And speaking of which, I'm not sure if the audience can hear this.
The funniest part about that is you lagged right as that happened, so no one will hear anything. I didn't even hear anything. It was just, I don't know if you can hear this, and then just nothing. And then
just nothing. Maybe it's the noise cancellation on Discord, but I've got a large Sapporo beer today. Obviously it's massive. It's like the size of my head. Look at the size of it. It's massive. But Sapporo is a Japanese beer.
Az has a pretty big head.
That's right. I do have a huge head.
Can relate. Most hats don't fit me, so I understand.
But yeah, as Bill said, when people are hearing this episode, obviously you would have already gone to your pre-releases. So let us know in the comments below how that went, what cards you pulled, and whether you had a good time, what your thoughts are about this set. And yeah, just mirroring what everyone else has said, it's going to be a pretty casual conversation today. True Living Legends fashion about our thoughts on this set in general and the parallels between this and others. But I should be going to a pre-release on Monday. So next podcast, I might be able to speak about it. But it just depends because I'm like you, I'm flying out to a different country on Wednesday. So just depends whether I can fit it all in or not.
Yeah, when do you get back from that, by the way? Because this might actually affect the next podcast. Because I was thinking about this. I don't get back from Japan. I'm there for almost a full week. So I leave on a Wednesday and I come back on a Tuesday. And then we're not counting the weird time difference because Japan is technically like a day ahead of where I live.
Yeah.
So when are you getting back, Az?
So I get back on the following Tuesday.
Same.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So I would be willing to bet, depending on what we can schedule, so no announcements here, the next podcast episode will probably be delayed by maybe like a day or so. We'll see how we can shake it out. So
if we can shake it out that I'm in the United States, you're in Japan, and Bill's in Canada, that'll be hilarious.
Yeah. Well,
we'll have to change all the overlays for that episode only. Like I've got USA, Kel's got Japan. But yeah.
Well, I'm not even bringing my laptop, so it'd be some weird jank thing on my phone or something. I don't even know. Like, yeah,
it could be done.
So, could just do just me. Just be like, hi everyone.
That would be like
That'd be really funny.
really good
funny.
because there's been a good number of episodes that it's just like me or Az. There's been one. Has there been one that was just it was just you two guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just Bill.
Just me.
It'll just be the
Holding
Living
down the
Legend
fort.
podcast. One
Living legend.
yeah, singular.
The one
only
guy
one-
podcast.
The only one that matters podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it, not me.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I mean that it could be possible if Cal's got a jank set up on his phone. I'm taking my laptop, so I could record it on my OBS and then just send it to you.
We could
somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it might be delayed because obviously you would still need to upload it, etc. But that is deep living legends scheduling lore going on at the moment.
Yeah, I figured it's probably important for people to know if it's going to be delayed anyway. So
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, probably delayed like a day or two or something like that. But rest assured, we will have an episode at some point.
Yeah.
It's just we're doing a little bit of traveling, little travel shuffle here.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, it's gonna be fun for folks out there. If you're listening, I will be in Japan in Akihabara for a full week. So if you live in Japan, I am bringing 3 decks. I'm bringing a Flesh and Blood deck, a Shadowverse deck, and a Magic deck actually. I'll be hanging out in some card shops and going around and stuff. So if you're from Japan, hit me up. Maybe we can meet at a card shop and play some games or something. And then likewise, if you're going to be going to, is it Hartford? Is where you're going as?
Yeah. So I'm going to be going to New York City first for 2 days. So I'm going to New York City first. Maybe hit up a store there, depending on how jet lagged I am. I want to do like a day tour of New York on the Thursday. Maybe hit up a game store. Yeah. Going to go to the top of the rock, like top of the Rockefeller Center, so you can see New York City, get some cool shots for vlog and stuff up there. So yeah, going to do New York City and then go to Hartford, which is the SCG con. So like you as well, I'm going to be taking a Flesh and Blood deck, obviously as Alia. It's going to be heavy hitters sealed the whole weekend, basically, as well as some battle hardened CC stuff. But then I'm also going to take a Magic deck as well because there's a whole Magic event going on as well. So it depends how much time. I'm not sure if I'll have time to play any other game because I'm really really excited to play this set because it just looks awesome. And I was watching a Spanish pre-release today from the Fabratorium folks. I met them at Worlds. They were part of the football game thing. And yeah, there's Victor looks ridiculous. His helmet looks absolutely insane. Like how he can block certain things and draw a card because obviously his effect. Kasai looks really really good. KO looks. It just looks all really really good. No one's like pure overpowered more than anybody else. Blocks really really matter. It's just thrown back to Welcome to Rave. I really really like what I've seen of it so far, and all the heroes look viable. Apart from maybe Rhinar, because Rhinar is dictated by your sealed pool, because you have to have all the intensity stuff. But everything else looks really, really solid. Really looking forward to playing some.
Yeah, me too. In like several weeks when I get back, maybe depending on the events that are going on in Akihabara, maybe I can go to a Japanese event that has heavy hitters or something like that. That would be interesting. So if you're in, the Calling Hartford or whatever, go hang out with the Az.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, true. Yeah, come and I've got special Hartford tokens I'm going to be giving out as well. So definitely come and say hello if you see my mullet and mustache.
Nice.
This is basically how I'm going to look on the week. So,
that's a good place for me to make this comment because I was actually just thinking how we all have different permutations of facial hair in this episode. So Az just has a mustache. I have like minus a mustache, so I have like a little goatee beard kind of thing going on, and then Bill has both of ours together. So if you just add me plus Az equals Bill.
Yeah,
which I think
is funny how that works out, isn't it? That's brilliant. And we've all got semi-long hair as well, so we all sort of meld into one, essentially.
Yeah. Mine back down to shoulder length after getting it cut like a month ago or so.
Yeah.
An absolute classic.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
it's all good. Except Bill's not wearing a black shirt today. What the hell, man?
What's going on?
We're getting ready for Halloween. That's the plan.
Yes.
Yeah, solid prep.
I guess that's Az and I's like week in Flesh and Blood. Bill, do you have a week in Flesh and Blood you would like to recount for us?
Not as much. Yeah, I was supposed to be going to some pre-releases, but this weekend just ended up filling right up for me. So like the pre-releases are also kind of at awkward times at my LGSs. Like there's one at the one that I was supposed to hit up today only starts at 5 p.m.
That's pretty late.
So just kind of like, yeah, and like I don't know, I've plans with some friends and stuff. So yeah, it just ended up being a little bit awkward. I did, and I think I mentioned this during our last podcast, I did pre-order myself a case because I had store credit still.
Nice.
So I am still looking forward to that. That'll be like my first actual hands-on for heavy hitters. But
me too.
Oh, actually, I'm still in the process of recording our heavy hitters set review with Tommy Fresh. We were going to do the remainder of it yesterday, but both of us just had a really long week and we were both really tired. So instead of, and he actually said what we should do, instead of getting ourselves really tired and kind of wanting to get it over with and having another, Warmonger's diplomacy is UPF only, whatever, who cares, good night. He's like, maybe we'll just split it into a third part. So we have a second part coming out soon, and then there's going to be a third part. I don't know if he's going to mix them together or not, but that's been really fun too. And there was one card specifically. It's a common cycle for Brute Guardian that is just instant speed, discard this, create a might token.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about this, whatever. I think it's pretty low on the scale. This is like obviously kind of a spoiler, but I love when Tommy just like comes in with, hang on, by the way, this is what you're not thinking of for this card. And for that one specifically, he's like, if you're playing this in Rhinar, this is just instant speed, discard this on your turn, intimidate.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
This is like instant speed, discard, make 2 mites for KO. Like, oh damn.
Yep.
Yeah.
For the red, actually for KO it's all of them. But yeah, I think it's 3 for 7 for red, and then 3 for 6 and 3 for 5. It's a cycle. So there's one for each class permutation, and they all make a different token. So there's one that does like agility, one that does vigor.
The agility one specifically looks insane.
Yeah.
Like agilities, to me, I think it's really funny that they've essentially said that, like, with the design of the cards, they're saying that all of the tokens are weighted equally in importance, because like you have the 3 for 7 that instant speed discards to create a might token, and then there's also 3 for 7 discard, create an agility token. And I'm like, I don't think +1 attack has the same value as go again. Mostly, like I feel like it's more valuable.
Unless you're playing like Concuss or something, where you can get that +1 value, you know?
Yeah.
Unless you're playing the sus Concuss, that's correct.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of cards in the set which say if your power's greater, do an extra thing. So I guess those mites will come into play. I think there's like Rising Power. Yeah. Oh no, sorry. If you've drawn a card this turn, it gets +1. But there's other things as well that say if your power's greater than its base, you do extra things. So I guess it just depends on what your pool's like. I guess if it's sealed at least. But yeah, the agile wind up, the discard this, create an agility. That one seems to be getting. So I saw a lot of that on the Spanish pre-release today. That was a good one.
That card seems very good.
Yeah, I think
for a common, seems really strong.
I think that whole cycle is like pretty solid, really.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Because they're all like baseline 3 for 7s, right, for the reds. So that's like just low. Worst case scenario, you attack for 7. Pretty good. And you know, 3 for 7s are just like great equity. You see that a lot in the set too, right? You see a lot of it feels like definitely feels like they learned a lot since Welcome to Wraith, and of course we've had new people on the design and development team like Brian Gottlieb who have had added their influence as well. So it really does feel like an evolved version of Welcome to Wraith in a lot of respects, right? Because it has all of the Welcome to Wraith classes except for Ninja. And so it's essentially like Welcome to Wraith, you know, I wouldn't say light, but it's like Welcome to Wraith 2 in a lot of regards. And I've seen this sentiment a lot among people, Flesh and Blood fans, you know, out in the wild. And yeah, you know what? I very much agree with it. I think it's pretty on the money. Pun definitely intended with the
All the gold tokens.
Some of the core mechanics of the set. So yeah,
What I saw from
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, from what I've saw as well so far, you know, every class has agency in the game where something else doesn't. You can't just run like in Outsiders or Techlo Daddy fatigue pile. You can't just do that in this format. You're better off, you know, trimming the fat, having 30 to 32 good synergistic cards rather than just running a pile, because, you know, each class has different agency where others don't. Like, obviously you got Betsy that can overpower on a stick, you got Warrior that can attack react over the top to close out games. You know, there's a lot of cool things in this set which sort of act on a different axis where you can't just run a pile and hope for the best. So I think that's I think a lot of people have also said that as well, which is good.
It's something that I talked about when we first saw the heroes, and that was one of my first impressions was they've added some sort of evasion to every class, right? Not every hero necessarily, but every class has some sort of evasion mechanic so that you can get around the fatigue piles. And it feels like a very, very conscious effort, and it's something that I definitely want to ask Brian Gottlieb about when we have him on on the podcast to talk about heavy hitters, because minor sneaky announcement, Brian Gottlieb will be, of course, joining us again here on the Living Legends podcast to talk about heavy hitters sometime after Az and I are back from our journeys, right? And that's basically all Brian and I have hammered out right now. Just sometime after I'm back, we'll, you know, mid February or something like that. But that's definitely one of the things I really want to talk to him about, is the design of heavy hitters from a limited standpoint and from breaking down those fatigue piles. Because I think that's one of the worst things about Outsiders. You know, Outsiders is my favorite set of all time. And one of the worst things is Outsiders Sealed could just end up being like just a pile, right? You just do fatigue pile. And
I think also another big thing about that as well is that obviously there are so many weapons in this set. You know, each character has a weapon they can swing. In Outsiders, you have the Ranger issue where they can't actually swing a weapon, so Rangers can just lose to that strategy. Whereas you don't really have that in this, do you?
They added it's interesting. So yeah, that's true for sure. But some of the weapons break, which I think is actually like very, very interesting. So they added like a risk reward mechanic. So you have the parrying sword that you can block with and then it breaks. You have the rare hammer that if you whiff on it, it gets -1 attack counters. So it's actually really interesting. They added kind of like a risk reward thing. So it's like, you know, you can have a more powerful weapon now, but it could break and you could risk not being able to, you know, swing it later, which I think is pretty cool. I really like the design of heavy hitters from a limited perspective, and that's personally where most of my thought has gone into it. And you know, here on the podcast and my own videos. But yeah, I think it's really cool, and I can't wait to talk to Brian about it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan too. Even again, specifically those the instant discard create a specific token. I really like what those represent as well from a design standpoint for the set, because each of the classes have 2 tokens that they really care about that are like part of their game plan. And so having hybrid cards that bridge that gap between the two, I think makes like the limited environment, specifically like sealed, a lot easier, because you have a hybrid card that, you know, the token that it makes, they'll always have like, okay, well, I want things that have more attack than their base, or I want to do multiple big attacks, so I have go again, or I want to attack with my weapon, that sort of thing. I really like how simplistic that design is, and also how impactful it ends up being. Like they're really, really clean designs, and I'm really happy that they're in the set, because it's basically a home run for me.
Oh man.
Yeah, that actually makes me think of 2 points that I think could be interesting to talk about. So I'll tell you the 2 points, and then we can talk about each of them separately. So one point is it really does feel like they have a cycle of, well, like a lot of cycles in the set, right? So they have like the discard cycle, they have the create a token cycle that are all like, you know, booze themed. And there's like several of these kind of things throughout the set, which I find very, very interesting. It's not something that they've done all that often. And you see them using a lot of the, you know, the cycles here. And what I mean by a cycle, if you're new to Flesh and Blood, because something that I'm finding, a lot of people who play Flesh and Blood are new to card games, just in general. A cycle is cards that have like sister or brother effects throughout multiple different classes or talents or whatever, right? So the discard cycle would be, all of them are 3-cost, 7-attack cards that have instant speed, discard this, make whatever token. And they're all, there's 3 of them, and there's one for each of the class pairings, right? And that's true for the alcohol cycle is what I'm calling it. They're all, you know, dual class, make a whatever 2 tokens that your class cares about. And I do believe there's a couple other similar cycles. There's like there's like some wager ones and all that kind of good stuff. And then the second thing that I think would be interesting to talk about is dual classes in general. And how that fits into Flesh and Blood going forward, especially draft sets. So, yeah, we'll talk about the first thing first. So the cycles, I just think it's interesting. I don't know if you guys have any point to make on this, but I agree with what Bill said. And I think it's interesting, and I think it's kind of cool that they're adding these kind of cycles, especially for like a draft set. So no matter what you're drafting, you can be you can be rest assured like, oh, I have access to this. And since they're all dual classes, right, you actually will have access to 2 of them. So if you're playing Guardian, you'll have access to the Guardian Brute one and then the Guardian Warrior one, which I think is super interesting for limited. So I'm a big fan of these.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love them. Obviously, the alcohol cycle was good. I think those are just singular class, though, aren't they? They've got Warrior, Guardian.
Yeah.
They just create.
Yeah, I was gonna say they make both of the relevant tokens.
For that class,
which is really strong. I think I think the one that I'm least impressed with is the Brute one, but the other 2 are really, really good. Because they make agility tokens. Haha.
Oh yeah, agility's the OP, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the
Guardian one doesn't. Sorry.
Yeah, the Guardian one makes vigor and might, doesn't it? Yeah, these blue ones, these like Goblet of Blood Run Wine, Smash Alehorn, those sorts of ones are pretty good because obviously they're a pitch card, but if you draw that in your first turn, you can just play it and just get the stuff for your next turn. You know, it's a great setup card on turn 1, and it's similar to those discard cards. You know, if you want to just create a load of tokens by discarding it on your first turn, you know that your next follow-up turn is going to be even better. So they're actually good to draw into on your first turn, especially the ones that create tokens. Another thing as well is the big, massive Guardian attacks, is it called Big Bop or is something else that just says?
I mean, there is a Big Bop. There is for sure.
There is a Big Bop, that's for sure.
There's definitely a Big Bop, but yeah, there's a lot of things that you can. Because on turn 1, turn 1s are normally like, right, I'm just going to swing this at you, and there's no real, you don't really get anything out of it. In this format, you're creating tokens for your follow-up turn, so there's a lot of cool sort of turn 1 plays that you can do as well in this game. Or in this format, which I think is quite cool. But yeah, the cycles are part of it.
Yeah. The other one that I was thinking of, and I did mention it, but the wage. So there's the wage cycle that these ones are all dual class, and they all are 3-cost, 7 attack, 6 attack, 5 attack, and then you wage whatever they want. So there's wage might, that where you wage a might, and then there's wage agility and wage vigor. All common. Same with the alcohol cycle, all common. So these are like definitely like draft. I don't want to call them signpost cards, but like definitely like draft, like cards you want to consider with draft. Same with the instant speed discard cards. Yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, so I like that they're doing these kind of like cycles for draft. It feels like that's a big part of why you see a lot of people like really, really high on Heavy Hitters Limited so far, and I feel like stuff like that really goes into it. It feels very smooth, I think, at least on Outlook, right? It feels like a really smooth set to draft. So you have a lot of like, oh yeah, go ahead.
The agile windups, for instance, they just play well into every archetype. Like the yellows and the reds are just great because they're above 6. But if you're the KO drafter or the KO sealed pool, the blue 5 is just as good. You know, you've got so many options spread out across these cycles and across these other cards that's why it feels to me that it's just so much better than everything else. And that's what dual class does ultimately open up for you, is a lot more options and a lot more ways to make the sealed and make the draft more consistent rather than just a pile of cards.
Yeah, and
so
I think I can go into the next point, and that is just dual class cards in general, right? And it's one of the things that I can see parallel with Outsiders, and one of the reasons why Outsiders was so much fun to like play limited, in my opinion, especially draft, is the dual class cards. And it felt like, you know, at the time, I felt like Outsiders, it was a very unique thing to Outsiders. You know, you had a bunch of, you know, assassin dual class cards, but it kind of feels, you know, like two really isn't a pattern yet, but it definitely feels like they're potentially leaning this way for draft sets, including a lot more dual class cards to smooth out the draft experience, right? And I'm here for it. You know, I think it's a great idea. It does open up deck building as well, like constructed deck building, but for limited, I think is really, really where it shines. What do you guys think about the dual class stuff?
I think as of yet, I'm not super sold on them as being like constructed cards. I haven't seen any that are really like I need to play this, other than things like the
codex,
the codexes, but those really only get played in Ranger. Like they are dual class cards for sure, but it feels like Ranger can get more value out of them than Assassins can. So but that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't like them, because like you just said and like we've been saying, I think it smooths out like limited and sealed formats so much, because now like you had mentioned just a little bit earlier, Kel, but like you have if you're playing Brute, then you have the Brute Warrior and the Brute Guardian hybrid cards to work with to add to your deck, in addition to Brute cards and generics. So it just gives you an overall higher percentage of the total cards in the pool that you can add to your deck. So instead of having situations like in, I think it was Uprising, that was the limited set that I remember seeing the most amount of people needing cracked baubles, because they're like, I only have 20 playable cards for my class. Everything else sucks. I need like 8 cracked baubles. There were piles and piles and piles of them. So just to give you, more opportunities to think about what you want to put into your deck, instead of just being like, these are the only cards that matter, and having your deck just be, this is what I got, cool, whatever. I think that overall makes the experience better, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why people are so high on the limited environment. And I'm really happy to see that. I'm not myself a limited player, but I know that it's really important because it's a fundamental part of how people enjoy the game. And I like to see when people are having a good time.
Yeah. I think, once again, I have another 2 points from what you said. I'll cover the constructed one first. I think I agree that there's not like any standout like slam dunk windmill slam cards for constructed formats like that are the dual class cards here. But what I really like about it is their option to print that if they wanted to, and that enables them to print a very powerful card that is slightly more open than just a generic card, right? So they could for example print a like Brute Warrior E-Strike, right? And it's like on the power level of E-Strike, but only Brute and Warrior can play it, right? And I think having that option is really good. It's the way to limit the card without just making it a generic. And I think just having too many powerful generics is a weird problem for Flesh and Blood just in general. So like being able to narrow it down a little bit, I think is good. Obviously the most narrow you could be would be like a specialization. That's like the most narrow you can make a card. It's like you can only play this card on this one hero. But opening it up a little bit beyond that, I think is cool. This is like a medium in between a talent and just like a class card, right? So yeah, I think this is cool, and so I think it really opens up design space for them to print powerful cards, but narrow them down a little bit, which I think is cool. Yeah, and then what was the other thing I was gonna say? I don't remember. There's another thing I was gonna say too, but.
Yeah, well, speaking of cards that are powerful, there is a Guardian CNC in this set, isn't there? It's called Command Presence or something like that, which is basically a Command and Conquer for Guardian, I think.
I mean,
what's it?
I mean, there's also
I think that's what it's called.
There's also that brute one that Bill picked in his top 5 for the last episode too. That just yeets a card from the arsenal like on attack.
Yeah, that card's crazy.
that card's sweet.
Yeah, some really, really good cards in this.
It's gonna be really annoying. I play against a lot of brute players, so I know Ian is gonna play that against me in the next like month or so, and it's just gonna be like, all right, fine.
Fine.
Send packing is the name of the card. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. It also like blocks for 3 and pitches for yellow, which is like
Pitches for 2. Like,
yeah,
they're making like it keeps being a meme, but at the same time, it took them so long to start printing cards for brute that have block again.
Yeah.
Like there were so many for the longest time that had just no block value. Like not even 0, not even 2, just blank.
Yeah, I mean some of them are in the set actually. I think there's like where is it? They reprinted some cards that don't have like Bear Fangs. Yeah, it's one of
Wild Ride.
Wild Ride, yep. So I think it was a thing they were like, okay, one of the flavors of brute is they're really strong and they hit really hard, but they don't have any defense. And it was like, cool flavor, but the cards aren't strong enough to actually warrant that.
Yeah. But also now we're dying, please.
Yeah.
It like pushed brute into this weird format where you kind of needed to win on like turn 1 or turn 2. Otherwise, if you let your opponent do anything, you just kind of died because your entire hand was full of no blocks.
I mean, I don't know if there's a hot take, but they just felt like bad Guardians for a while, right? It's just like Guardians that also made you jump through hoops and also had cards that didn't block at all. Well, Guardians are just like, I'm just gonna pay 3 and attack you for 11 anyway. Like I'm a Guardian, hurt.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
All of Guardians cards still block.
Yeah, and they also make you discard cards and have dominate for some reason. Yeah, welcome to Guardian. Yeah, well, I'm glad that brutes are maybe getting some better cards here. Not only some 3-block attacks, but some 3-block non-attacks too, which is also a little wild. So,
yeah. Az, what do you think of hybrid cards? Do you have any spicy takes or hard and fast opinions?
Just as what in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're really, really good for mainly the purposes of, you know, if LSS are now looking down the route of we want every set to be draftable, this is obviously something that's working for them because it allows them to smooth over both draft and sealed, because all of the feedback for this set has been, you know, this is the best limited environment we've ever had. And I think that's also down to the fact that this set definitely has more hybrids than Outsiders. Outsiders just had the codexes, right? And
there was a big handful of them, but
Okay.
They were all hybrid with Assassin though. So it was like Assassin plus something else, right? There was there were no Ranger Ninja cards.
Whereas with this, it's every wedge, isn't it? As such,
yeah. And we have like I mentioned, we have the cycles of cards that are for all of the pairings. It really does feel like they want it to be super equal and even footing from like a limited perspective. And flavor wise, I think it works really well. And I can definitely see them. This is jumping into the weeds a little too much. I can definitely see them doing this for the touted all arcane set. I can definitely see them being like, here are the 3 arcane classes, Wizard, Runeblade, and Necromancer or whatever. And it's like, there's a pairing for each of them. I can see like a Necromancer Wizard card or a Runeblade Wizard card.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Brute Shaman. I know you're talking about 2 different classes having shared cards, but I want a Brute Shaman.
Yeah.
What's actually
Bones reprint.
What's actually really interesting about this is I think this is a great way to do it without having more dual class heroes, because I think dual class heroes add so much more baggage, right? They add so much more crap that you have to think about in terms of like constructed power level. In like a limited set, obviously, in the draft environment, it's probably really cool and easy to balance. But in like the wider scale of Flesh and Blood, a game that has no traditional rotation system outside of just cards getting too powerful and hitting Living Legend or just getting banned, I think dual class heroes have their own thing going on, and I would be very surprised if we saw one anytime soon that wasn't very I don't say nerfed, hampered, like the Emperor, right? The Emperor is a dual class, but he's got a significant downside. You can only play red cards, and and even then he's still like pretty good in Blitz, right? And he has only like 15
pretty good.
And he has only like 15 health, so huge downsides, and he's still really good. So I imagine if they ever printed like just a vanilla hero, like a warrior guardian, right, or whatever combination with no ability, I bet they would be busted. So like I'm glad that they're approaching it from like this kind of perspective, and I think it works really well. Yeah, I mean, some people whose opinions I genuinely respect are calling this like the best limited environment. People like good buddy of the show, DM Armada, and you know, he's a Flesh and Blood old timer like me who's been around since Welcome to Wraith, and if he's saying like this is the best limited environment, you know, I respect his opinion, and I'm inclined to, you know, agree to some extent before I play. I have not personally played limited yet, but I'm going to be playing a lot. I want to do a lot of content on this. This makes me excited for content, right? I want to do like they don't have crack shuffle play, but I want to do like sealed pools. I want to do that sealed UPF game where we start with the deathmatch and play. Oh, it's going to be awesome.
That's going to be fun.
I kind of want to add a couple. Well, I'll talk to the crew once we assemble the crew for it, but I kind of want to add another rule where no two people can pick the same hero. Everyone has to be a different hero. I'll run that by them when we get to the time.
Yeah.
I think it could be interesting to do that, and we'll have we'll like draft heroes, right? So we'll like roll for it, and top seed will pick the hero first, and yada yada. Anyway, after we've, well, I don't know. I'll think about it. Anyway,
We'll see.
my point is this makes me excited to play Flesh and Blood, which is not really the case with the last two sets. I don't want to be like a doomer, but like Bright Lights and Dusk Till Dawn are kind of cool sets, right? But they didn't like really make me want to play more Flesh and Blood. And it's like it kind of made me want to be like, oh, I kind of want to build like a Prism deck, but it was more like a meme deck, right? And then it was like for Bright Lights, it's like I wanted to play Crack Shuffle Play, but that was about it. But this actually makes me want to play like a lot of Flesh and Blood. Want to do Sealed? Maybe I kind of want to build Kasai like for Constructed. And that's one of the
thing. Yeah, it's one of like with these draft sets. If you're introducing four new heroes? No, 5 new heroes, isn't it?
Yeah, there's only one reprint hero. Yeah.
So you're introducing so many more heroes. And I think that's what they have promised, that they're going to introduce a lot more heroes this year. So that's only going to refresh people's perspective on the game as well, because the more heroes and the more characters you introduce, whether they're ridiculously powered or not, that just refreshes your interest in the game. I've only been into Azalea. I started off on Viserai, but Azalea's been my main hero for the last bloody 3 years now, basically. And I suddenly see a character that looks like bloody Achilles from Troy, because that's in the back of my mind, I love that sort of Greek Roman sort of aesthetic. The more heroes they bring in from different sort of cultures and backgrounds and aesthetics, the more refreshed people are going to feel, rather than just, okay, here's Prism again. All the Prism people are loving life and stuff, but apart from that, Vincent was the other hero that was introduced. Whether you vibe with that or not, that's fine. But there's only 2 heroes in Dusk Till Dawn, only three in bright lights. But when you introduce 5, it's just like, wow, okay, this is, I just think there needs to be more heroes. I'm just very, very excited that.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off.
That's right. I thought you were going to say something.
Oh, sorry. I had a thought and I just escaped my mouth.
Go for it.
So a while ago, to preface this, there's some content creators for Flesh and Blood like come and go, and those of you who have been around for quite a while might remember that a pretty big gaming streamer used to cover Flesh and Blood, and his name was Noxious. And Noxious was a friend of mine, a really nice dude, very, very technical minded person when it comes to games in general. And he doesn't do content at all anymore, let alone Flesh and Blood content. But one of the things that he was talking about, that he was like a critique of his of Flesh and Blood, and I do agree with this, because I definitely don't think any game is beyond constructive critique, is that the game didn't have enough heroes or equipment. And he was like, I just want more heroes and equipment. In fact, he was at the point where I do believe he was saying something along the lines of, he would be happy if they released like a product that was just a bunch of heroes and equipment, just to expand on that kind of stuff. And what Az was saying really reminded me of that, and I agree. One of the reasons
we've said it on this podcast as well, to interrupt you there this time.
Yeah. No, it's good.
We've said it on this podcast before. I think maybe I have. I don't know, but I would love a whole set that was not part of their draft set. That was literally just a bunch of weapons. Like an armory set where you just release a bunch of weapons. Some of them are crap, but it doesn't matter, because you can just mix and match. And again, it just keeps the game fresh for not only the competitive-minded people that want to brew with the new stuff, but also weird and janky stuff as well, right? Like a random spear in the set, which makes me want to build the Dynasty Warriors character that I posted on Twitter a few weeks ago.
Hey, I want Spear Girl, like the from Shift the Tide of Battle. Give me Spear Girl and give her like an awesome spear or something. Give
That's
her like
why people like.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
That's why people like Commander and stuff, because it's so customizable that you can just think of a fantasy character or think of the avatar in your head that you want to replicate, and you can build that hero to play with. Basically,
I mean, every single game that I play has some sort of avatar character. Even Magic, I really only play Commander.
Yeah.
But like Flesh and Blood, Grand Archive, Shadowverse, you have like a leader in Shadowverse, and in Grand Archive it's even more customizable than Flesh and Blood, to be honest, because in Grand Archive, if you don't know, you have your element that you choose. So you can choose fire, water, or wind, and you can mix that with literally any character in the game. So you can have like a fire warrior, you can have a fire assassin, you can have a fire wizard, and then or a water version of all those, a wind version of all those. And I love that kind of stuff. So you can make whatever you want, right? You're like, I want to build a water warrior or whatever, and then you can do that. So having more options like that for Flesh and Blood, I think is really good. They just more options is great. And also more heroes helps alleviate like the living legend problem too. So like just having more options per class, because they've been pretty conservative, right? Because like let's be like super honest here. Some class talent combinations might as well just be specializations, right? So like every Shadow Brute card at this point might as well just say Leviathan specialization on it, because she's literally the only Shadow Brute in the entire game. And having more options for that kind of stuff, I think will, deepen the deck, buildability for Flesh and Blood. So I think in terms of that, we're still really early in the game. And I would like to see more of that, more combinations and more options. And then some of the stuff is like unplayable too. Like, do you like Elemental Ranger? Tough. You cannot play any Elemental Ranger card in CC now because Lexi is the only one. And same is true for like Light Illusionist you can now. But Elemental Guardian is the other one, I guess. Can't play anything from Tales of Aria, actually.
Pretty much.
Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, more stuff, please. So I do like the direction they're going. I really really hope this is a sign of things to come. I really hope that Bright Lights was more of an experiment rather than something we'll see too often, because I thought it when it came out, I thought it was interesting. I'm like, this is a bold move, only having a single class for the set, and I still feel like that. It was still a very bold move. I thought the set was cool, but I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of desire to like play with it all that much, because mech's cool, but all the items are like fiddly and they all kind of blend together for me personally, and it's just, I don't know, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
But Heavy Hitters having... Yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? You know, Heavy Hitters is like it's a familiar theme. It's a gladiatorial arena. Everybody knows what that is. And, you know, that comes with a selection of heroes that all look different. And it just gives everyone, I think, a bit
Variety.
of a refresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Variety is the spice of life, and I think it really proves it when you have Bright Lights and then Heavy Hitters back to back. And I'm not even someone who mainlines any of the classes in Heavy Hitters, right? But it's still way more interesting to me, because it's like, oh, I have options, and when I draft, I could draft different options. Even if I'm Warrior, I can do Olympia or Kasai or whatever. Like I think it's just good and smart, and I hope they continue this trend. We have 2 more sets this year. I wish it was 4. Or I wish it was 3 more sets, but we have 2 more sets this year, and I hope they follow similar veins, right? I hope we get like my hope, and this is something I'm going to make an entire video on, but my hope and prediction for the next 2 sets is we'll have a Mysteria themed set, and my hope is that it's similar to Heavy Hitters, 3 classes, 6 heroes, or something similar to that, and then the all arcane set with a similar thing, right? And I think if we have that, you have like so many different heroes with a bunch of different flavor and a bunch of like, I think that would be like the ideal year for Flesh and Blood for me to have that, right? If those are the 3 sets and they're like, 6-ish new heroes per set, and there's like a bunch of classes. Oh, see, that's what I would like. That's what I'm hoping for. And maybe you can pepper in a new class into one of those. I don't know, but I think that would be my ideal year for Flesh and Blood for 2024. Yeah.
You know what this sounds like, what you're describing? Crucible of War.
I mean,
we need more Crucible of War.
Yeah.
I mean,
we do.
Crew. Yeah, the expansion sets were interesting. I think they're doing a good job of providing relevant cards for supporting heroes in the expansion slot. I think they're doing that pretty well so far, and it feels like that's their intent of like doing that instead of like the expansion. And I think it's great on a couple different levels, because it allows them to print like relevant cards rather than just a bunch of like bulk that you're never going to use, like Dust Till Dawn. Because I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you what most of like the commons and rares from Dust Till Dawn do. Like, I don't know, man. Like you just show me a random Shadow Brute card from it that's like common or rare, there's like less than a 10% chance I could tell you what it is and what it does.
I mean, they could still... I mean, with a set like that as well, which is like a thematic set, even though I don't really know where the story was going with it, but...
I can tell you where it ended, but it was a cliffhanger, so it's kind of just like a... maybe we'll see what happens.
Well, in the new Fluke and Box interview with James, he did say that they've sorted that out now. They do have like a writer in play now, so I think we're going to see the dividends of that very soon. But
yeah, I mean, like buddy of ours, Kale from Dead Summer Art, was applying for that writing position, so I assume that's what he was talking about, right? That was the writer.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Kale, if you listen to this, mate, just carry on. We all know you're very, very good at what you do, and obviously we'll be doing the D&D session very soon.
Yep. Hopefully hopefully when Az and I are back from our travels, or at least the most recent travels. I have more travels coming up, but I'll fit it in. We'll fit it in.
Where was I going with? I was saying something about Dust Till Dawn.
You were talking about the lore of Dust Till Dawn.
All right. Yeah, so the sets that are basically thematic sets, like, oh, okay, this is the War of the Monarch now. We can haphazardly tie this into a Monarch draft, but you can now use the Light and Shadow cards. You could still do that later on down the line if you want to do like a thematic set, which was, a thematic set that was based in the pits, for instance. You could tie that into the old Outsiders thing as well. They could still do stuff like that, but I would just prefer that it's like a bonus set rather than the main set, if that makes sense. Give us more of the draft sets with 5 new heroes in, please. So we're getting 15 plus heroes a year. And that's gonna, in a few years' time, there's gonna be so much selection. It's gonna get to that point where you can just build whatever you want for days. And even characters, even people like me that like one character.
I mean, some people.
you are a character.
Yeah.
That's right. Eventually there'll be there's an Olympia guy in there now, which I really, really like and I resonate with, rather than just the dominatrix. There's now like a chiseled, long-haired fella with his chest out that reminds me of Achilles and the 300 Schneider vibes. It's all there for me.
I half expected you to be like, who just reminds me of me. I just wake up, look in the mirror every morning. I'm like, oh, look at this absolute Adonis.
That is my goal that's my goal for this year, is to look like Olympia.
That's a good goal.
Exactly. LSS, thank you very much for giving me Olympia. I can plaster that to my wall and I have to aim for that every day.
I just need
I'm drinking beer. Whoops. Oh dear.
I just need like a good long-haired roguish dude with like a dad bod, and then I can cosplay that.
And that's it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Iswardi Therianto, please.
It's like,
please give it to me.
Like slightly overweight. I'm just like, he's just like, I don't know.
Sam Yang, direct that into existence. Make it happen.
Make it happen. But yeah.
Yep. But, make character. I don't even know, but they're something along the lines of Kel Syndicate Bookie. just all he does is just write in the ledger every day.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I agree with the overall sentiment for sure, and I think I've heard some people call Dusk Till Dawn and Bright Lights like the homelands and Fallen Empires of Flesh and Blood, and I'm like, kind of. It's not that bad. All right, as someone who actually played Magic and was into Magic when those came out, which I was, my dad would buy me Fallen Empires booster packs from the store for $1.50 instead of the revised packs, because those were a little bit more expensive. The revised packs were like $4, and he's like, "Well, just get the $1.50 ones. They're all the same,
too
right?
Much.
Yeah, they're all the same. Who cares?" I don't think they're that bad, but at the same time, I would be lying if I said I was super interested in them. I'm just like, yeah, they're sets, sure. Angels are cool. Do I ever want to buy more boxes and open them? Not really. Not really.
Yeah. Just with the collation recently, like buying boxes has been really rough. It seems as though now that we have the information about the distribution for heavy hitters, that it's going to be a little bit more substantial. Like you're going to actually get something usually once a case. I think they even bumped up Marvels to once every 2 cases.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like 1 in 8 boxes has a Marvel. So every 2 cases, you'll probably get a Marvel, which is a lot better than it has been recently. I kind of liked it. Sort of flooded the market a bit, but I liked what it was Uprising, right, with the Marvel Dragons.
Yeah.
I like what they did, because it was like 1 Marvel a case and also 1 extended art, like the extended art Phoenix Flame cards, about 1 per box, I think. Even like they were pretty common to get, and I liked that. Yeah,
the rare Marvel Dragons were like the Marvel Dragons that their original rarity was rare seemed a lot more common, and then you had like the like Dracana Optimi and stuff were like the big chase ones.
Yeah,
but
having
cool.
like having different rarities of Marvels, like having the rare dragons be more like more available, more around. I did like that actually. It just felt better to have a box where you get one big hit and you're like, okay, cool, nice. Instead of there were a couple of even cases that I saw of, I think, Dusk Till Dawn, where people like didn't even get a legendary. They got like 4 Majestics in a box, and they were like, oh,
that
cool.
was it. Yeah, like that feels so bad because like Flesh and Blood doesn't even have like chase rares like Magic does, because Magic still occasionally has like a chase rare here or there. Like if you're gonna look at some of the newer sets, like you maybe you'll have like a cycle of rare lands that people really want, like shock lands or whatever, right? Yeah, but Flesh and Blood doesn't have that. All the rares are like basically uncommons. Yeah, and so they're all just kind of like bulk, unless you know, unless there's like an old one that spikes like cash in or whatever.
But even like even Magic still has like uncommons that end up being worth a couple bucks. Like there are some uncommons that are like, there are some that are worth like $5, like maybe some that are worth 10 even. Yeah. And I just wish that there were rares that did that. I don't know. I feel like that could happen. Because especially with something like what's the down but not out. That card is like majestic level in terms of power.
The hats
it's really good.
Like all
the hats are so good.
Yeah. I think those are it's a good step in the right direction. And I think it's like it's great for single sellers too. I think this is getting into another topic. Flesh and Blood, you don't see a lot of single sellers for Flesh and Blood. And I think that's one of the reasons why, is because like a lot of cards just don't have a ton of value unless they have a ton of value, right? So there's not a lot of like mid-rangey type cards. It's either like it's worth nothing or it's worth like $50, right? And I think a lot of single sellers are just like, whatever, I'd rather just sell the boxes, right? They'll just sell like sealed product and that's it.
Unless you have, I guess, the resources to buy so much of it all the time that you can just, if someone comes to you for a whole deck, they can buy the whole deck, and then that's not affecting your inventory whatsoever.
Like, it has to be like a lot though, because as
like
Bill
I
said,
was that tier. I was that tier for our local community when I was buying like 4 cases a set.
Yeah,
and that's just not sustainable.
You can't even do
like,
that anymore
so
though.
Much.
Like so 4 cases is like 20 boxes, and I used to buy about 20 to 30 boxes per set. And after the last 2 sets, this is more just harping on Dusk Till Dawn and Bright Lights, but like, dude, I don't even have close to a full play set from those 2 sets. I don't even have all the heroes from from Bright Lights and Dusk Till Dawn. Actually, this is true. I don't have an adult Vincent, and I don't have an adult Max Nitro. After like 25 to 30 boxes of each of those sets, which is insane. And the obvious answer is don't buy sealed, buy singles, and that's what I'm gonna do, which is unfortunate, I guess, and that's why you don't see a lot of single sellers. It just feels bad to spend like $1,000 to $2,000 opening a product and then not even get all of the adult heroes, and then having to go and buy like them for like $1.50 from TCG Player or whatever. It's only $1.50, but it just feels bad to have to go buy singles after you've spent like $2,000. I don't know. And I compare that with other games that I'm playing, and it's like not like that for other games. So yeah, the pull rates for Flesh and Blood don't feel great right now. And the unfortunate downside,
I do think they're getting better, but we'll have to see.
The unfortunate part about that is like, the way I would like it is if the pull rates are so bad, I would like the single sellers to at least be able to make money off of it, but the singles are still not selling for much at all. So it's like, it's bad for people opening boxes, good for people buying singles. Like the singles are cheap, but it's bad for single sellers. So yeah, I don't know. Outside of a couple cards, right? There's probably going to be 3 or 4 cards from heavy hitters that are like $20 to $40 or whatever, and then everything else is going to be like bulk to like $1 or $2.
Just depends on your area as well. Like, I mean, Fluke and Box, for instance,
I'm gonna go to TCG Player. I'll find out TCG Player.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a couple of single sellers that are doing well, but obviously, Fluke and Box is one of them. But he's selling to the Japanese market right now because of the fact that they're blowing up and just want all of their cards, and he's based in Australia, so he can just send them everything they need, basically. So yeah, but he's buying in quite a lot of things. But as a singles store, yeah, cracking a lot of Flesh and Blood does not feel good at the moment because you're having to bank on the fact that this new set might have a staple or might have a legendary that's worth quite a lot, but you still don't know the value of that right now because it hasn't been played in the meta, and that's what decides the price.
My God, I'm looking at the Bright Lights singles, and it's brutal. It's brutal. The Master Cog Fabled, $34. The Adaptive Plating Legendary, $30. The Extended Art Warband of Bologna, $60. Tunic is down to $70. A lot of the extended art's around the $50 price tag.
Because
Shriek Razors, $12.
That set's done nothing for competitive play.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple cards. There's Twin Drive, which is about $30, which is kind of insane to me. Tome of Imperial Flame, $25, and then Already Dead, $22. But outside of those,
isn't Heist still pretty good, or maybe that went down already?
It's not on the first page, so it's at least on the second. Let me check. Heist is $9.
Living Legends.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Living Legends Finance Corner.
But like after that, it drops a lot. You have like some of the Evo cards, like Evo Soul cards, are like $9-10. Hyper X is $11, legendary, and then from there it's like $4 or $5 cards. Yeah, not
how much is how much is Marvel Teklo these days?
He's worth a big chunk, I think. Let me go back to the first page.
Yeah, because I think he's the same pull rate.
$500, $480. He's $480.
Yeah, he's like about the same pull rate as the Levia, but he's just less useful than the Levia.
Yeah, regular Mechlovossen's $40. So like the regular one, but like it's a very narrow set. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels bad opening the Flesh and Blood stuff. And for me, it's like it's a unique case because I used to buy like so much, and then I was able to, I think it was up until, if I'm being honest, probably Uprising, or Dynasty. I'd buy so much, like 20 to 30 boxes. I'd have more than a playset of everything, so I'd be able to build whatever deck I want. But and then Outsiders. I bought a lot of Outsiders, I'll be honest. So I don't know if it's true for Outsiders, but for me personally, starting with Dusk Till Dawn, opening like 25 boxes and getting one Slithering Shadowpede, and then like I'm just like, ugh, like what the hell? Like I spent so much and I still have to go buy singles. Might as well just not buy seal or just buy singles, I guess.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah, well, it continued with Bright Lights, so yeah. Anyway, we've already talked about it. Bill and I are buying like one case now. I might buy two, but for different reasons. That might be just like for limited and videos and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like
I'll buy a few.
It's like a maybe.
I'll buy a few packs for like sealed streams or whatever if I do them with you or whatever, or sealed UPF whatever. I'll buy packs for that, but I'm gonna get an Olympia deck. I think I'm gonna get the pieces I want for that, for Blitz and CC. Want to build that character, but yeah, I just don't buy. I don't buy too many cases and products anymore.
It used to be more sustainable for me personally. I wouldn't sell everything, but like basically what I would do is I would buy a bunch and then I would sell a lot of like the high ticket cards, like if I opened up like 3 Dracana Optimi Marvels or whatever, and they were selling for like close to $200, so I sold 2 of them. So I made a little bit of money back from that, and same with like duplicate legendaries and that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
now it's just not feasible. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. But
Speaking of Olympia, someone on my Discord saying, at my pre-release, I hit the wizard card in the expansion slot and KO's specialization, but it's all right. I ended up playing Olympia and going 4-0. But
Nice.
yeah, I think Warrior operates in quite a good space in the limited environment because there isn't many. Because Warrior has the attack reaction, right? So you have with this set you have to block up front most of the time with block cards or actual attack cards or whatever non-attacks. There's no D-reacts in the set, so I think Warrior operates in a space like in the late game where you can really, if you've got those attack reactions, really end it quite easily.
Yeah.
So that's what makes me want to lean into Warrior.
So, okay. I have a question for everyone. So getting back to heavy hitters, to round off the episode here, I have two questions. The last question will be what are our general thoughts on the set and general vibes on the set. But before we get to that, I want to go around the table and say what character we are most looking forward to playing in limited or constructed. Or maybe both, right?
Oh.
I think as is pretty already is.
I've answered this question like 3 times in the last 3 episodes.
As is number one Olympia simp.
main.
Yeah,
That's right.
I think this, for me personally, I think it's really interesting because in Welcome to Wraith, if we're comparing this to Welcome to Wraith, Rhinar is actually the hero that I draft and have had the most success with in Welcome to Wraith, which is funny because I don't really play Brute in Constructed. But I've won and done very, very well with Rhinar in the past. So it's this weird thing. Whereas like every time I try to do Dorinthia, it's like a shit show. It's like terrible. Usually because I have to fight people for the Dorinthia cards. And then Bravo is probably the second one that I've played and done well with. Just because Bravo's, hey, no shade on Bravo players, but Bravo's very easy, right? It's just like blue cards, pitch, dominate, smash you. Like, I'm Bravo.
Yeah. Punch big.
Yeah. Just
Bravo.
Draft good card, draft a lot of blues and a lot of big cards, and there you go. So, with that said, going into heavy hitters, I mean, I like Kasai for both constructed and limited, and I want to play Kasai. I feel like Kasai for limited is going to be trickier because she, you have to have specific cards. You have to have the reds and the yellows. Plus, you have to have ways to give her attacks go again. I feel like in draft, she's going to be really, really fun to build, and if you do it right, she's going to be insanely powerful. And I think in constructed, she's just going to be really powerful because she's got cost reduction and card advantage built into her hero, and traditionally speaking, it's very strong.
I lost against Kasai on Talishar the other day, a new one. And they surprisingly they were still using blood in their hands as well, and they still managed to get a blood in their hands turn off.
Interesting.
Because
how'd they get the copper?
I think they were using. I think there was something that did it. I think it was maybe High Striker.
There's Outland Skirmish, High Striker, and Spoils of War.
There's Spoils of War that gives you copper too.
Maybe yeah. I think it was one card. So I think it was one card they used to get the copper, and then they killed me with blood in their hands. Well, didn't kill me, but it was a good turn nonetheless. But yeah, Kasai's seems very good in constructed, but we'll see. Yeah,
she's my pick for the best constructed hero of the lot. But I just want to play her. She seems cool. I like her character. She looks great, and then her abilities seem really cool. So Kasai is the one that I want to play with the most. If I'm being honest, like in terms of like limited play, I really would like to play Kasai, but I feel like she's going to be really, really tough to build in limited. I feel like Olympia in sealed is probably, if you're playing Warriors, probably easier to build because it requires just less of you, right? You just need wager cards, and there's a bunch of wager cards. Yeah. And then I think also Guardian feels like, especially like Betsy, feels like on the easier side to build, right? Once again, you just need like wager cards. Whereas Victor, I don't know why, he just feels like he's a little more, he demands a little more from you. So
yeah, I mean, his helmet is very good. If you're playing defensively, his helmet is extremely good because you can basically you can block for 2 on the helmet, 1 card from hand, and then you draw a card because you generate a gold. So you're effectively, you can block with 2 cards from hand plus a helmet for 8. But then because you draw a card, you're only basically blocking for 1 card from hand, but still blocking 8, which is ridiculous.
I feel in sealed, if you open up any of the specialization helmets, that's a good indication of where you should look for your pool.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're all really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my like hero thoughts, I suppose. The brutes seem interesting too. I think KO is like really really cool. Probably
Bill's
pretty
favorite.
sweet for limited. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. I feel like I need to think more to play. Oddly enough, I feel like I need to think more to play the brute than the other two, which is like kind of an oxymoron.
Has that ever happened?
Well, because I think it just like requires more. Like you got to look at the numbers in your deck and make sure you have like a high density of like 5 or 6s and all. You know, for Rhinar like the intimidate and the beat chest stuff. Whereas like warrior,
It's a lot
just,
of thought to beat chest.
Yeah, where you're like
a lot of thought.
feels like more demanding to make like a good deck.
Yeah.
But and I think we saw that a little bit with the celebrational thing, right? You saw a lot more like Guardians Warriors. But yeah, Bill, what are your hero thoughts, desires?
I'm excited to play Olympia in Blitz and KO and Victor in CC. I think that Victor's game plan is just really interesting. His just whenever you make a gold, you draw a card, you get like extra value off of wagers and clash. And he just seems like a really cool hero. For KO, I just love the idea of having a deck that is like 3 Blood Rush Bellow and like Tear Limb from Limb. And what was the other one that I always talked about? It's Blood Rush Bellow, Berserk, and yeah, Tear Limb from Limb, and have like those be your power cards, and then the rest are things that have at least 6 base power thanks to KO's ability.
Or 5 base power.
Yeah.
Well, they would have 6 total because they get buffed up.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, after his buff, they're at least 6 power. Like all of your attacks are active for your discards.
Yeah.
Are you doing like some spicy? Have you started a deck build? Are you doing like E-strikes or any like spicy little 5 attacks here or there?
I will be doing that. I haven't built a list yet, but that is exactly the idea of just having wild stuff going on. E-strike is a 5, which becomes a 6.
I think.
Oh no.
I think KO is the hero that has the most upside of like if I look at your deck, I'll be like, oh, that's sweet. Like I think he's got that going for him where you can make like cool decks and just like really interesting things.
I love doing that. So having like spicy picks in your deck that people don't anticipate or that they've never considered before, that's my jam. Big fan.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So with that said, let's go around the table once more and just give our thoughts on Heavy Hitters as a set. I know I personally kind of doomed on the previous 2 sets a little bit, but I don't think they're terrible. It's just like they're not, in hindsight, they're not really for me and didn't really get me all that excited, even though I was pretty hyped for them initially. I think Heavy Hitters is really sweet, and it hits the notes that I look for in any card game set, right? And that is, it's really simple for me. Really simple. Does the set make me excited to play with the cards or build new decks? And the answer with Heavy Hitters is yes. Like, I want to build a Kasai deck. I want to play limited. I want to have like some boxes of this just kind of like hanging around so I can crack them open and do sealed or whatever. This set makes me want to play with the cards, and for that reason, I think it's great. In fact, this is the most I've excited for a Flesh and Blood set since Outsiders, but once again, as you've seen in this episode, that's not saying a ton for me. But I will say that I think I'm more excited for this set than stuff like everything basically since maybe Arcane Rising. Before Outsiders till like Arcane Rising. I think it looks like a lot of fun, and I think it looks like it might have legs in terms of like limited play. Constructed, I don't know, man, but like for limited, I think it looks like a sweet one to have and just like bust out and play with sometimes. So yeah. I'm pretty high on this set. I don't know if it'll end up making my top list of my personal favorite sets. Currently, Outsiders and Arcane Rising are my 2 favorites. Not sure if this will. I don't think it'll break those 2, but maybe it'll come in the 3rd. We'll see. So that's kind of where I am with the set right now before I've actually played with it and like really gotten into it. So I'm pretty high on it, right? If I had to give it a letter grade in terms of excitement, like a B plus A minus, something like that for me. Yeah. How about you guys? We can toss it to whoever wants to talk the most.
Yeah, you know what? I will. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this set, especially, again, going through, like always, whenever I go through the set with Tommy Fresh and just start to see the design of it kind of all come together, it makes me, like, significantly more excited about the set. And I think just the classes that are getting help in really interesting ways, where, they're bringing in mechanics that are on their face, and I think objectively as well, they are parasitic, but I think they lend themselves nicely to give the heroes that they're printing some like individuality, some identity for themselves.
I agree.
Whether or not they'll be able to then include more support for them later because the mechanics don't fit necessarily as well, we'll have to see if that ends up being the case. But I do think the set is well designed, and I think that some of the cards are just bonkers. I really like what they did specifically with the specialization helmets, putting that much value and not like monetary value, like gameplay value in an accessible slot that honestly some of these helmets should be legendary. Like I think that Betsy's helmet, Good Time Chapeau, is just legendary tier. It's so strong.
I don't want to cut you off a little bit, but like compare that to the hats from like Bright Lights. Just do that. Just look at the Good Time Chapeau and then look at the hats from Bright Lights and dude.
Yeah.
It's nuts how good these cards are. So I think that's a good thing for them to do, because the hat slot is pretty barren in terms of having good cards for most classes. So now not only do you have really powerful budget options, but they are also like the best in slot for these heroes. And I think that's fine. I think that's fine having something that's for a hero more powerful than Crown of Providence. Because something like that, something as powerful as Crown, should be an option, not the bare, like this is the minimum. This is what you need.
Agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with either more rare specializations or just pushing rare equipment to be like, they don't need to be generically powerful, but if they're powerful for a specific play style, absolutely. I think that's exactly where that should be. So yeah, I'm really happy with what the set is, what it represents, and how it was executed. I think it's a really, really good one.
Yeah, 100% on the hats especially. Like, I already talked about how much I love Outsiders, but once again, compare the hats from the rare hats, to the hats in Outsiders, and it's like it's like night and day, right? One of them's obviously like draft chaff, and the other one's like insanely good, like legendary level. Yeah. All right, Az.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Heavy hitters, stinker,
cool,
sinker, floater. I don't know.
Absolute floater, high in the sky. I think it's really, really good. I like the fact that obviously Flesh and Blood, caters itself on being a hero-centric game. Now, what have we seen in this set? We've seen hero-centric things happen, whether that's a good or a bad thing, like parasitic mechanics, as we've mentioned before. But as Bill said, was going to be one of my points, and obviously the identity thing of resonating with a certain hero and doing certain things is limited to that hero and that hero only, being very, very unique and different ways to play. Printing new equipment this started in Outsiders, the Azalea specialization Crow's Nest, and now we're seeing Victor helmets, Betsy helmets, all of these things that are giving you unique things for your class. Is just, I think the design space is going to be just really sort of capitalizing on that going forward, having more specialization equipment, so you don't have to run the crowns and the stuff, the legendary cards that were best in slot for so long. And I know I'm sort of reiterating on a point that you've said, but it was something that I was going to say anyway. But I think it's going to be a great way to go forward, where you're not going to have that issue where Lexi can run 3 of a kind. You're not going to have those issues anymore, where you're going to have these heroes that are running legacy cards but they shouldn't be running those cards because it's just too much. I think there's going to be cards gated behind certain heroes, and even if those heroes are parasitic because they only came out with that one class, you're not going to open up those issues for yourself anymore. And I think they're starting to realise that now. So, yeah, I'm very, very excited to play with all of these sets, not only because there's heroes that I like, but I just like the way it's going in terms of design space, where they are gating it behind certain characters, or, there's pros and cons to building a class that's limited to that hero and that hero only, but I think there's also very good things that come out of it. So obviously the more you think about it, the more pros and cons come out of it. There's a lot of things you can say about it, but yeah, I like the way it's going for sure.
Yeah, Heavy Hitters seems to be, and this is something I definitely want to ask Brian about, like hedging their bets in that regard, because like I've talked a lot about the parasitic mechanics, but it's only like a couple of the heroes, right?
Yeah.
It's like Betsy and Olympia, but it really feels that they're doing a conscious effort between like, okay, these are the heroes that really only synergize with heavy hitters, but then also here's like Kasai, and she's probably just going to be really good with any warrior card like ever, and then here's KO, same kind of deal, right? He just synergizes with any 5 attack card, brute stuff. So it feels. My question to Brian is going to be like, was this done for like constructed balancing reasons? Because it really feels like it's like, hey, we're going to limit these heroes' effectiveness to like this mechanic that's only in heavy hitters, like only wagering stuff. Whereas these other heroes are like, they feel a little more pushed for constructed for me, where they're like, you can jam whatever in Kasai. Yeah. So like, I don't know. I think it's interesting. And I'm curious to hear his answers on that. I did also hear that, I remember in the James White interview, on Olympia in particular, Olympia had like multiple iterations, and they ended up just going with what he is now. So very curious to hear about like the actual design history of that kind of stuff, because he ended up being like, he's got like one line of text, right? So... Yeah. I don't know.
Pretty simple hero, all things considered.
Yeah.
Which is not bad, but he's simple.
Yeah.
And it's, a lot of people said, oh, what's the payoff with gold? But gold is pretty good. If you've got blues, which you probably aren't going to have later on, you can filter, float a resource, and maybe draw into a red. Draw into the more high value stuff. It's pretty good sync.
I don't know how much of that is copium and how much of that is real, but James did say that, or someone said there's going to be a payoff printed at some point. So I do remember them. I do remember them saying that like there's actually going to be a payoff printed at some point. Probably in the expansion slot in the next couple sets or whatever. So yeah. I mean, like, and also there's cash-in as well. So like, go get your cash-ins. I'm actually curious, how much are cash-ins? I don't pay attention to the secondary market for like any game that I play. So I'm going to look up TCG Player. I'm curious to see if cash-ins have spiked a lot. Cash-in. Flesh and Blood. Cash-in. Oh, bro. Okay. It's not bad. It's a $5 rare from Unlimited Crucible of War. Market price $650. Currently, the lowest listing is $580.85. Dude, I have
hold on.
I have so many of these.
Is it rare? Is it?
Yeah, it's just a rare.
Oh, okay. I might have a few of those then. I was thinking maybe I don't. If it's rare, I probably do have loads in a bulk box.
I think I have like, I don't know, like 30 or 40 of these things, maybe even more. Like just in the things. I specifically bought a playset of foil ones when Arachne was spoiled because I wanted the foil playset for my assassin. So I have a foil playset, but yeah. And then the promo one, the cold foil promo one, the judge one is $200. $200. So hey, look, now you have a rare that's actually worth a couple bucks $5. It's only like their third set, like, and it took a long time, and being like out of print and pretty hard to get to be worth $6. I hope everyone got their cash-ins, because I legit think cash-in is like kind of bonkers with some of these heroes. Yeah. So if we ever do like a constructed UPF game with the arena in it, I'm definitely putting 2 cash-ins in my deck no matter what, just in case I kill someone and get some gold. Then I get some cash-ins. Yo, let's go. Oh, I can make it. Oh, I'm already thinking of like a cool deck. Maybe like a
of course,
Arachne contract.
Kill a hero.
Deck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Arachne contract deck where I can still use the cash-ins for that or something. Oh, I don't know. That'd be cool. Yeah.
Very nice.
Well, that's that. Ending it off with the cash-in talk. Any Arsenal step? You guys got anything going on outside of Flesh and Blood, other than like the traveling that Az and I are doing?
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going somewhere in like 2 weeks. I'm going to MagicCon Chicago. So that'll be fun. That's like the second or third weekend of February. I forget which one, but
it is. It's like early March, because I know this only because I'm scheduling a thing with my buddy the professor, and he's like, I'm gonna be gone for MagicCon. And I'm like, no worries. I have a thing at the beginning of March too. So we're gonna schedule it. We're scheduling our chat sometime after we get back, like mid-March or whatever.
Hell yeah.
But this is fun.
So that's what I'm doing in a little bit. But right now, the only thing that's taking up my Arsenal step is the sequel to Yakuza Like a Dragon came out on the 25th.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really good so far. I really loved Like a Dragon, just all of it. It's a really fun RPG. I know it's not the beat 'em up style that people usually love with Yakuza games, but I'm just a sucker for classic turn-based RPGs, and also with how silly the the franchise is. So
yeah, I'm a fan. I bought like the Yakuza when they were on sale, like a Yakuza trilogy. It was like Yakuza 0 and I played a couple of them. They're fun. Yeah. They're weird. They're supremely weird. But
they're super weird. And I love it.
It's this fun juxtaposition where like it's like kind of serious story mode and then just like really weird crap. Yeah.
There's a mini game where you can play karaoke, and so it's this really hardened Yakuza guy singing Dame Dane.
Yeah.
There's in Yakuza, I think it was in Like a Dragon. It might have been in Yakuza 0. There's a slot car racing mini game where you can customize your slot car, and it has like quick time events and stuff. It's really good.
I haven't talked about it before, but I'm a fairly big fan of like certain genre films, and I really like the Yakuza and also like the Chinese like triad crime movies. There's some really good ones. So there's like Hard Boiled. There's some really, really good ones. And so those games really kind of scratch that itch for me. Yeah. It's fun. That's
I need to play these. I need to play these because I played, I'm showing my age now, but Shenmue. Did you ever play that?
Oh, Shenmue? Yeah. That's
oh my god, that game is
also kind of a weird one.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But it was just like for its time, it was just absolutely innovative. That game, you can just get a job. You can just go drive a forklift around to get money
and spend all your money on the gachapon, just like real
life. Yeah.
Like, come on, give me the Yoshi.
So yeah, I need to play the Yakuza games, and that turn-based one also sounds very good because I've been playing. I downloaded the new Pathfinder game recently, Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous.
Yeah.
Which had some pretty good reviews, and I'm looking for a few games to just sink time into, and that one apparently is like absolutely massive. Liking that at the moment, but yeah, that's it really. Need to download those Yakuza games also.
Yeah, for video games, I'm still kind of like trying to finish out some games that I mentioned before. So I'm up to Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's one of the games that I bought a long time ago, never finished, so I'm kind of playing through Odyssey. Really cool. It's just so big and daunting. I think I'm at the point where I'm just going to ignore all the side stuff and just mainline the story, which is hard for me to do, actually. I'm the kind of person who just, I got to do everything.
Does everything.
And that game's like too big. It is so big. But I love the historical settings in the Assassin's Creed games, so exploring like ancient Greece is really cool. There's a new game that I want to check out that I'm going to pull up my Steam real quick, that one of my favorite YouTubers just did a thing on called Enshrouded, which is if you know what Valheim is, it's kind of like Valheim, but with significantly better combat and more like updated graphics. It's only like it's on sale for like $26. And it looks like a game that I can maybe convince my partner Robin to play. So it's kind of like this open world medieval fantasy. I really don't want to use the word survival, but kind of like you can build your own base and stuff. It's like Valheim sort of. And
like crafting sort of open world.
Yeah, but it's like you can be a wizard, you can be a warrior. It's like very, fantasy medieval kind of setting. And there's like a talent tree. It looks cool. And like I said, one of my favorite YouTubers, Riker, did like a thing on it, and I was like, this looks sick, and it's only like $26. And so like when I get back from Japan, Robin's off tonight in the next couple days, so I might actually be like, hey, you want to play this with me? So I might play that the next couple nights for like video games. It looks cool. And then also, there's another game that recently came out that I'm probably going to buy and play. I've been waiting till I get back from Japan for this one, and it's the next game in the Momodora series. And the Momodora games are not roguelites, Castlevania-like games, right? Like Metroidvanias.
Oh,
yeah.
And I love the other games the developers made. The first Momodora game, as well as Lost Ruins. Maybe they didn't make Lost Ruins, but similar. Very, 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 very good Metroidvania games. I have 100% completed, achieved all that for Momodora, so I'm very excited to play this one. So, yeah, I will be doing that at some point. Yeah. And then, other than video games, I got... let me hold up a Grand Archive card. I'm going to be doing some cool stuff with Grand Archive when I get back from Japan. Hosting the starter deck event in my Discord. And I have official prize support from the company. We have a event kit. I have it just back over there, and it's a starter deck event. So if anyone has any interest in Grand Archive, I'm hosting a 40-player starter deck event in my Discord. Haven't thought what pricing is yet. It was $15 last time. It's probably going to be around that. But the quick and dirty of it, starter deck event. You can only play with Alchemical Revolution starter decks. It is non-competitive pricing. I don't care how many times you win, how many times you lose. Everyone is getting prize support, period. All you have to do is play in all the games, right? That's it. And then I'm going to have extra pricing beyond that. And I've talked to my friend artist who also does art for Grand Archive, Honshu, and she's going to be doing like a cool little sketch, and I'm going to turn it into little tokens. And so we're going to have like little tokens that are part of the prize support. And it's just going to be a fun event to teach people how to play Grand Archive, to have a nice casual time. The first event that we did for the first set was a smash hit. I sold out. We had a 40-player event. It was great, and gonna do that again. So sometime mid-February. Nice. Shout out for my own little thing that I'm hosting, and it's the kind of events that I would like to see more in Flesh and Blood, to be honest. Even though we talked about Grand Archive, and we'll relate this back to the Flesh and Blood since we're a Flesh and Blood podcast. I would like to see more events like that. Starter deck events, non-competitive pricing, and like. The best way to do non-competitive pricing, in my opinion, everyone gets something no matter if you win or lose. And that makes it so that people aren't incentivized to spike and then dunk on all of the newbies. The whole point of it is to teach people how to play and to get more people in the game. And so that's what I'm doing. So.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that in the past as well. I've done the Go Again Gaming Open. I've done 4 of them.
Hell yeah, dude.
And they're still on the channel as well. I've live streamed the whole thing all day. So yeah, and they did very well because of the fact it was, well, the first 2 I did prizes for people that went into top 4 and stuff. After that, I scrapped that because you do get the spiky players that want to get the stuff. So after that, it was like rares and commons, and then it was a commoner one as well. And that was participation prizes. Like as you say, it just encourages people to just be there for the fun and, maybe build a strange deck just to have fun with, and refresh your whole sort of interest in the game for different reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's an entirely other topic. We could go into another time.
Yeah, I feel pretty strongly about those kind of events, right? I think they're great to get people in, making it a starter deck event. Unmodified, so everyone is on the equal footing. I'm making it very casual. So like, if you bought all 3 of the starter decks, dude, you can play different starter decks if you want. Basically, the way we're doing this is since I don't care if you win or lose, we're not keeping track of that. Is just we'll have 3 or 4 rounds. Each round will be an hour long, and you just play as much as you can in the hour. That's it. Like if it takes you an hour to play one game because you're brand new and you're learning, I don't want to punish you for that, right? So like there you go. You could just have one round, like for an hour. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And like I said, we have official prize support from the Grand Archive developers. Just an actual tournament kit that you would have at like your LGS. So we have silver prize packs, gold prize packs. The long and dirty of it is everyone gets a silver prize pack, and then at the end, if you played all the rounds, we're gonna randomly give out the gold prize packs. Just raffle them off. I did it last time, and then I'm gonna have my own prize. I'm gonna put like play mats and some other crap into from like some Honchu stuff, and yeah, just to make it fun.
That sounds really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. I wish I could have more people. I like I said, it's going to be 40 players, and it capped out last time, and I've had a lot of interest so far this time, so I'm pretty sure it's going to sell out pretty quickly. It's all going to be sold through my online store. You will have to pay for shipping, but it's just like super light shipping. So I did that because I don't want someone. It can be really tough if we have a lot of people from like international, and the shipping is like $15, right? It's like that puts me in the hole. So unfortunately, we are going to be doing. You have to pay for the shipping. In the US, it's probably going to be like $2 or $3, but unfortunately, international is going to be expensive. And then people who win like play mats and stuff, I will foot the bill for that. So if you win like a play mat, don't worry about it. I will pay for the shipping on that. So anyway, yeah, that's my little.
Cool.
My little spiel.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's one of those situations where it's like practice what you preach kind of deal. So it's like I very big on these kind of events, and if I'm hosting an event, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. So
lovely.
Yeah. So we're gonna end off here. This is gonna be the last episode, and before Az and I do our travels. So the next episode is going to be like either mid travel, and it'll be weird, or it'll be like post traveling. So I'm sure we're gonna have a lot to talk about on the next one. It's gonna be fun, and I hope you stick around for that. And then later in February, Brian Gottlieb on the channel talking about heavy hitters, and then just more stuff. It's
gonna be fun.
Yeah. At some
Sounds
point,
good. I wasn't even on the last one, the last Brian Gottlieb one. Seems like a long time ago since I've had the pleasure of being in his company. So that'd be nice.
That was like three months ago or so. And then like who knows who we'll have on in the future? Probably Sam Yang. Maybe we can finally rope James White to being on the podcast. No promises on that one. But yeah, stick around for some more Flesh and Blood content here on the Living Legends podcast. Before we sign off today, everyone, shout out. Where can the lovely folks out there find you? Let's start in reverse order this time. Let's go with Az. Az, where can the lovely folks find your fabulous Malay?
That's right. So Go Again Gaming on YouTube. There's going to be quite a bit of stuff coming out in the next week or so, because I'm going to Hartford. So there'll be the typical vlog style things where I've just got a GoPro out filming people's faces, despite whether they want it or not.
I just had an idea, Az. We need to record. I don't know how we're going to do this. We need to record each other calling each other in the respective places, and then upload that somehow, like, or have it in the vlogs that we're both doing. Like, you're in New York, I'm in Tokyo, and we need to do like a cross thing. I don't know how we do it, but we should do that.
Oh, it's easy. Yeah, me and Jim do it for the Azalea Cult spoilers, so we can easily do a funny call for it. That'll be it'll be interesting. But so that'll be good. Yeah, we're all going to be well, not all of us, but we're going to be traveling next week. So as we mentioned, the podcast might include us in those locations, but it might be slightly delayed as a result of whether we do that or not. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens with that. And on socials, Going Gaming AZ. That's where a lot of my raw thoughts go these days. But stay tuned for the YouTube, because it's going to be a lot of the similar Barcelona style vlogs, travel vlogs that I do on there. That'll be good fun.
Excellent, excellent. Bill, where can everyone find you?
So I am Bill from the Spike Feeders. You can find me on Twitter at BillTSF. You can also find me on YouTube at the Spike Feeders Fab. We do live gameplay content, and if that's something that interests you, you should definitely go check us out.
Yeah, definitely go do that. I've been more interested in Magic again than usual, so I have caught some of the Spike Feeders Murders at Karlov Manor gameplay video stuff. The set looks really cool. I know there's a lot of Flesh and Blood players who just really hate Magic, but I'll be damned if the set doesn't look cool. And I think it looks really sweet. So I'm
actually this next weekend. Yeah, next weekend I'm going to be doing some CEDH filming. So that'll be cool.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'm Kel. You can find me everywhere at Red Zone Rogue. Talking about card games, Flesh and Blood, Shadowverse Grand Archive. You can find me on the Bushiroad live stream on February 2nd doing casting and coverage for Shadowverse Evolve Worlds in Tokyo. So if you'd like to see that and what's all about, that's where you can find me there. But other than that, I'll be on my usuals. And God, I kind of want to talk more about Magic too. So I've been really thinking about firing up the old Magic channel again. I don't know if I have the time and whatever to commit to that, but I have some ideas. I have some actually kind of cool ideas for some Magic content that I think it would be like unique in the space. So I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, we'll catch you next week for probably a weird episode. So stay tuned for that. Either way you shake, it's going to be weird. So we'll see you then.
I love the weird ones.
Yeah, me too.
Have a great day, everybody.
Absolutely. See you later.